Alright, what's up guys? This video is going to be called What Drives You? Alright, so we're going to dive into it. The information from today's video is going to be from a book called Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David. And basically he says that every entrepreneur should act like a grandmaster in chess, knowing your next 5 moves ahead and knowing how to plan and execute those moves. Alright, so in the book, there's a section where he talks about what drives us, right? And there's 4 categories to it, okay? So first one is going to be advancement. Second one is individuality. Third is madness. And fourth is going to be purpose. So let's dive into those and what those mean. First one is advancement. Advancement is the people that get driven by wanting to get the next promotion, who want to complete the task as a team, who are really driven by meeting the deadline and hitting it on point. That is advancement driven. And if you're like that, you know, there's a lot of opportunity there. Then the second one we have is going to be individuality. And when I took the quiz on yournext5moves.com, it actually said that I was individuality driven. I don't know how true that is. I still have been trying to test it day by day and kind of note taking and seeing what it is that actually works for me. But individuality driven basically means that it's like a lifestyle and recognition. That's what gets you driven, right? So I guess it would be like, you know, having the, I wouldn't say the nice car, because you're not going after notoriety, you're not going after fame or nothing like that, but just having a comfortable lifestyle and being able to get recognized for the work that you do, for the value that you create. I think that's the important part, right? And I will say, in terms of recognition, I'm always looking for it. I'm always looking to do things that have never been done before, or things that I know are going to be pretty challenging to do, and I accept those challenges for the recognition that will come with it. So on that case, I guess I am a little bit more individuality driven. The third one is going to be madness, and it's called madness for that exact purpose. These are the people that are driven by fame, power, money. Kind of reminds me of Scarface, you know, when he said, once you get the money, then you get the power. Once you get the power, then you get the woman. You know, like that. Like that's the people that are driven by madness. I will say that maybe in my younger years as a salesperson, like selling cars, I think I wanted a little bit more of you know, I wanted to sell cars to make some fast money, and that way, you know, I could tell all my friends and family that I had money. And then I realized quickly that wears out, it dies out, and it could be for short term, but it's never going to be for the long term. And so quickly, I think very quickly actually, maybe within 4 or 5 months of making a decent salary, I got over that very easily. And the last one, probably the most important one, is going to be purpose. Purpose is going to be the people who want to make a difference. Purpose is the people that wake up every day trying to help everybody but themselves, and everybody should strive to have just a little bit amount of purpose drive in them, right? So they want to be a little bit purpose driven in everything that you do, whether it's, you know, being a dad, whether it's being a husband, whether it's being a businessman, whether it's being the CEO, whether it's being a big brother, an uncle, whatever the case may be. You should drive to be able to bring value to others more than you can yourself. You want to be able to make a difference. You want to be able to say, you know, when he passes at his funeral, everyone's going to say nothing but good and uplifting things about him. So that's where purpose plays a part. And then in the book, it goes on to speak about what are the 4 reasons that even let you come to start thinking about those motivations that drive you, right? And there's 4 reasons in anybody's life where they start becoming more aware of what drives them. And that's going to be boredom, it's going to be stagnancy or plateauing, it's going to be declining talent, and the last one is declining results. Okay, so when you decline talent, decline results, that's easy, right? I'm doing bad, how do I get better? What can I do to get better? Or the boredom fact is like, man, I feel like, you know, I can achieve more, and this is just not challenging enough for me. Or the last one is stagnancy, saying, you know, I've been in this position for a while, I know I'm capable of doing more, how do I get to the next level? And those are the really four factors that really push us to start analyzing what our driving factor is. And it's very important to take note of, because we don't only want to get stuck in these four motions of boredom, plateau, stagnancy, declining results. We don't want to get stuck in just waiting till those four arrive till we start looking for our driven factor. Yeah, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. That's a quote by Aristotle. And if you dive into that, it's saying that if you know when you're gonna, become plateaued, or before you get bored, or before your results start to decline, before your talent starts to fading away. Knowing yourself is very important, because if you know that stuff is coming, that's when you can get on the ball, you can get ahead of the game, and you say, you know what, I know that I'm purpose driven, so today we're going to do something that's purposeful. I know that I'm investment driven, so what's my next promotion? What's my next goal? Let's hit it. I know that I'm let's say that you're fame driven. Okay, I know that I'm fame driven. I'm at 100,000 followers, but I want to get to 150 by next week. Okay, let's do it. Let's make a game plan. And it's just knowing what drives you is the important part, so that you can start making your moves accordingly. And like I said, we should all strive to have a little bit of the four, maybe not so much madness, but we should have a combination of the three at least, and that would work. I will say that when I was working in the corporate sector, I had a lot of people that maybe envied me or despised me, and they would think that my driving factor would be madness. And I had a lot of one-on-ones with coworkers who told me I'm getting a big head, or I'm owning about the money, or I'm trying to just rub elbows with management so that I can get up there. And that was never the case for me. For me, at the job that I was at, coming in, so I worked at that company for 5 years, and when I first started out, I was the youngest one in the lab, and already for me that was an accomplishment, being the youngest one to be hired. And actually, the funny way of getting hired was I had a video on YouTube. This was for electronics related though, right? I had a video on YouTube. The hiring manager is interviewing me. He goes, "Oh, okay, Abraham, here's your test. Take your test and I'll be back." And I said, "Okay, but listen, while I'm taking my test, if it wouldn't be of any bother to you, can you just watch this video real quick?" It was a 5-minute YouTube video of all the electronics I've ever completed before, and it kind of, noted how I knew all the different standards and methods on how to complete soldering and wire harnessing, and different tips and tricks on how to strip the wires. All that stuff was in there. And I kid you not, I was maybe like 10 minutes into my test, and I can hear this guy from the other office. He was like jumping in excitement. He went to go share it with all the other managers. Before I could even finish my test, he says, "Hey, you know what? When can you start?" And I said, "It's funny that you say that, because I actually quit my last job. I put in my 2 weeks notice as soon as I got word that I had this interview." He goes, "Wow, that was pretty highly confident of you." And I said, "Yeah, I know. I just, I knew that I had better chance of getting this job than in my sales job that I was at." And he goes, "Well, that's wonderful." He goes, "So let me get you started with HR." And I went to HR, and instead of just talking to me about when I could start and all that, they were going down already with the, medical package, 401k, this package, that package. And I was like, wow, this is great. And so that was year one, youngest kid in the lab, and I already had some kind of resentment towards me then. As time progressed, I was there 5 years, and those 5 years I received 5 different promotions. And I think that was a lot of the case, and what made me butt heads with a lot of my other coworkers, because they would see these advancements and be like, "Oh man, this kid's getting way over his head. He's getting too much of a big head," because they keep promoting him. But the thing was, I would just like to break records. I would see management in there working late hours, and I'd say, you know what, I can work the late hours too. And so I would just start hanging out with them till 6 or 7 o'clock, just to see if they would take on, and say, "Hey, if you're going to be here till 6 or 7, why don't you, time your hours on the clock?" And I said, "Sure, I can do overtime." They said, "Absolutely." So I started working, 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, 12-hour shifts. All of a sudden, 100-hour paychecks, 120-hour paychecks, 130-hour paychecks were like nothing to me. And I started, being the first one in there, the last one out. Sometimes I wasn't the first one in there, but I was always the last one out. And I just made it a challenge for myself daily to always be the number one worker. And in the beginning stages when I wasn't so advanced, I remember times where I was there after 5 p.m. and there was no other person to do tech work, right? I was doing tech work. There was no other person, so the engineers would be like, hey, we need a tech. And my manager would just kind of look over and be like, well, he's the only one left, take him. And over time, it wasn't that I was the only one left. All the engineers would come down and say, hey, we need that tech. We need Abraham. He's solid. He knows what he's doing. He's not going to mess up. When we ask him for something, he gives us the product, first time, correct, everything's working. If there's some kind of issue, he'll tell us about it up front, and we like working with Abraham. So it became from being the only option, or being the only option available, to being the option, right? So I think that's what played a big part in my advancement in that company. So all this to say, the 4 categories of what drives us: advancement, individuality, madness, and purpose. I think it's important that you kind of write down some list of how you like to get, recognition, or how you feel when you complete something. I think it's important to document all of that so that you can know which category fits you best. And I gotta say, by just taking that simple test and understanding what it was that drives me, I've never had to use an alarm clock to wake up anymore. I wake up 6 o'clock every morning and I'm just amped and ready to go for my day. I think that was a big part that played in it. So yeah, hopefully you guys can take some notes from that, and you guys learn something from it. Hopefully you guys learn which one of those 4 factors is what drives you. If so, go ahead and do me a favor, tag 3 entrepreneurs. If you know no entrepreneurs, please tag 3 Gen Z people that you know that might make some use from this content. As always, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.